Lordy, there are tapes. Yesterday midday, Lauren Windsor, a documentary filmmaker and activist, revealed 2 separate recordings that she made of private conversations she had with Justice Samuel Alito. Both of these were taken at dinners that she attended for the Supreme Court Society. Now, one of them was from 2023, and then more recently, this year's dinner was just a week ago on June 3rd. In addition to these undercover recordings of Samuel Alito, she also had some recordings that she made with Justice Roberts just from this year. So Windsor did use her real name when she attended these dinners and when she applied to join the society. However, when she spoke with the guests there, including the Supreme Court justices, she pretended that she was a religious conservative. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about what she discussed with them and why this is such a blockbuster news story. It's in part when you look at the contrast between how Justice Alito and Justice Roberts answered her questions. Let's start with what she said to Alito, and you can see how he took the bait.
I don't know that we can negotiate with the left in the way that needs to happen for the polarization to end. I think that it's a matter of winning.
I think you're probably right. I think one side or the other is going to win. I don't know. I mean, there can be a way of working, a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be compromised. Really can't be compromised. So it's not like we're going to split the difference.
Okay. So what's really concerning to begin with what Alito said in response to Windsor's questions, is that he views the world of politics, our society, as a zero-sum game, this kind of world where there are these fixed conflicts in place that are intractable between two sides, as opposed to what society really is, which is a group of people with complex ideas and opinions where we evolve over time. What's more concerning, though, than this very naive, limited us versus them worldview is that Justice Alito is positioning himself as part of that conflict and does not at all attempt to distinguish between how he sees himself in the world and how he sees himself as a justice. And this is really important because she didn't meet him at a pool or at the country club. This was at a Supreme Court Society dinner. Everybody knew what roles they were in. And there are folks who claim that the Supreme Court justices are supposed to act like umpires, just calling balls and strikes. More on that at some other occasion. Of course, that's not entirely what they do. But at any rate, he shouldn't be seeing himself as part of the battle, but instead as a neutral, nonpartisan judge who is just applying the facts to the law. So that was very revealing. Let's listen to another bit of their conversation now.
People in this country who believe in God have got to keep fighting for that, to return our country to a place of godliness.
Oh, I agree with you.
Okay, this part is even more shocking. When he responds to Lauren Windsor, I agree with you, that he sees his role essentially as helping the country return to a place of godliness. What in the world is he doing agreeing with her that he believes people should further this religious agenda? Now, he doesn't say, as a justice, I have that as my agenda, but it would have been appropriate and really necessary for him to make it clear that whatever religious views he has himself as a person of faith, that is not what he should be doing when he is deciding cases. Now, when you compare how Justice Roberts, the Chief Justice, answered Lauren Windsor's questions, you are going to see even more why what Alito said was inappropriate and concerning. So Windsor did ask Roberts similar questions about both polarization and the role of religion in law and society. So when she asked about polarization, Roberts did acknowledge that we are somewhat polarized, but that this is not a new phenomenon. It was concerning, but not something to be completely troubled about. That's just kind of how society works. He contrasted where we are today to much more concerning, disturbing times, such as during the Civil War and the Vietnam era. Now, Windsor also, as I mentioned, asked about a role for the court in this. Let's listen to that clip.
But you don't think there's like a role for the court in like guiding us toward a more moral path?
No, I think the role for the court is deciding the cases. If I start, would you want me to be in charge of guiding us toward a more moral path? That's for the people we elect. That's not for lawyers.
Well, I guess I believe that the founders who are godly, like, we're Christians. And I think that we live in a Christian nation and that our Supreme Court should be guiding us in that path.
Yeah, I don't know that we live in a Christian nation. I know a lot of Jewish and Muslim friends who would say maybe not. And it's not our job to do that. It's our job to decide the cases as best we can.
So what you heard there is exactly what a judge should say, a justice should say, that it's not the role of a judge to guide society on some kind of moral path. And when he said, would you want me to decide? What he's recognizing here is pluralism. That was shocking enough. But 6 hours later, there was more when on her Twitter account, Lauren Windsor again revealed that she had another audio tape. And this was one that she recorded undercover with Justice Alito's wife, Martha Ann Alito. I'm sure you remember that we recently spoke about Mrs. Alito as the person who, in the words of her husband, is very fond of flags. She was the one who apparently put up the upside down distress flag, the upside down American flag, right after the insurrection, which was a symbol of support for the people trying to stage a coup. Okay, so this conversation with Martha Ann Alito is off the chain. The kind of intimacy that Mrs. Alito thought that she had with Lauren was amazing. And it is astonishing how much Mrs. Alito is enamored of using epithets, referring to her enemies, for example, as feminazis. Let's take a listen.
But why do you think they're coming after you? I mean, like, the whole, like, appeal to have heaven flag was, like, bullshit, right?
Right. But that's, the other thing is the feminazis believe that he should control me.
Yeah.
So you go to hell. He never controls me.
But, like, I have the same flag.
Yeah, I know.
No, but, like, a lot of people fly that fucking flag.
Don't worry about it, baby.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I should watch my language.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm sorry. I did not mean
It's
to.
okay. It's okay.
No,
It's
but
okay.
it makes me so angry.
Don't get angry.
It makes me so angry.
Don't get angry. Get even.
And oh boy, there's one more part, because that lady really does love not just revenge, but she loves her flags.
You have to just win.
They feel.
You
they
have
don't think.
No, but you have to win. And if we want to take this country back to like a godly place, to a moral place, that means that we actually have to just fucking... Pardon my language again, I'm so sorry.
You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag, because I have to look across the lagoon at the Pride flag for the next month.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh, please don't put up a flag. I said, I won't do it because I'm deferring to you. But when you are free of this nonsense, I'm putting it up, and I'm going to send them a message every day. Maybe every week I'll be changing the flags.
Let's move on to some good news. Yesterday, the UN Security Council voted to approve the U.S.-backed ceasefire plan for Gaza. This is the same plan that Joe Biden put forward on May 31st. This is so important because there are 15 members of the UN Security Council, and 14 approved this plan. Only one nation abstained, and that was Russia. This is important because Russia is one of the 5 nations that have veto power. And Russia did not use its veto power, neither did France, Britain, or China, or, of course, the U.S. in this case. So what is this proposal? Well, it has 3 parts. The first phase is a permanent ceasefire negotiated by Hamas and the Israeli government. The second phase would be the release of all living hostages by Hamas. And then phase 3 is the drawing up of a plan for rebuilding Gaza, as well as the return of the remains of any of the deceased hostages back to their families. I remain hopeful. This is a huge step that the U.S. has participated in the UN with this process, not just agreeing to a ceasefire, but essentially leading the demand for a ceasefire. It's long past time. Okay, now let's move to something lighter. Crazy Town. Today, Crazy Town is not so much a destination, but a location inside the free-ranging brain of stable genius Donald John Trump, when that brain is not being guided by a teleprompter. What he offered on Sunday at this rally was a disquieting, demented speech that was utterly detached from reality, more so than usual.
So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart.
The fact that your uncle was an electrical engineer does not make you some kind of genius scientist, any more than the fact that my uncle is a cardiologist would make me equipped to talk about angioplasty. So, why was he mentioning his Uncle John? It was to insult him, to suggest that he had somehow stumped him. So, let's listen to this. It's a variation on what Donald has said before. He's before railed against electrical cars, claiming that if they got submerged, you would be electrocuted. Now he is railing against all electric boats and somehow gets this meshed together with his fear of sharks.
I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there? By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we're going to end that. We're going to end it for boats. We're going to end it for trucks.
This is the person the Republican Party is going to nominate to be their candidate for the presidency of the United States. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what is the science behind this? Could you really get electrocuted if the battery from your electric boat sunk with you? Okay, no, that is extremely unlikely. And let me explain why. There are safety features built around these batteries. It's watertight enclosures and ground fault protection devices are built into these electric boats to guard against electric shock. And if somehow that was compromised, the current is more likely to go out into the water because electricity follows the path of least resistance. It's not going to go into the human body when it's submerged. Again, if compromised, it's going to find a different outlet. That's all I've got for you today. See you tomorrow. And remember to subscribe to Mary Trump Media, the channel on YouTube, so that you get all of our programming and don't miss a day of Morning Jen that you see every week. Our episode that drops at 2 p.m. on Wednesday of A Muslim and a Jew Walk Into a Podcast. We have 2 new programs we're launching this week and so much more to come. See you tomorrow.